did not bring Colonel Knauff here to shut down this unit. I brought him here to lead this unit into the next century, and he will do that.
Well, tonight, a change of command at the 174th Fighter Wing.
43-year-old Lieutenant Colonel Bob Knauff is now sitting in the commander's chair.
The 174th Fighter Wing has a new leader.
Adjutant General John Fenimore handed off command of the wing to Lieutenant Colonel Bob Knauff.
Knauff comes to Syracuse from the 177th Fighter Wing in Atlantic City.
I was in the hangar that day when he took the stage and took the guide on for at that time, the 174th Tactical Fighter Wing.
General Knauff, and at the time Colonel Knauff, came in at a very difficult time in the organization as the commander, and he was challenged to really turn the organization around.
Imagine this: here's somebody who's a lieutenant colonel coming in from another state, who doesn't know anyone here. But that wasn't really important to him. What was important to him was his willingness to answer the call for service.
You know, he was the man for the hour, and from top to bottom, A to Z. You know, there was none better selected than Robert A. Knauff for that position.
You know, I think some of the qualities that he had, you have to be born with. You know, you can't learn some of that stuff.
He was somebody who gave people opportunity, and he gave them confidence and responsibility.
Very dedicated. He was very committed to the mission, and I think, you know, with that, more so, he was dedicated to the people and the families that he led.
What a brilliant man he was. I mean, he won friends not only on the base but in the community, because he was actually open to others' opinions and didn't want them to be discomforting, but to actually take care of them.
He was not a man of a boisterous man. He was a humble man. Humility was one of his greatest attributes.
He really embodied the core values that we ask out of all of our airmen, and was a great example of those core values: the integrity, the service, and he lived that every day. And he was such a great example to all the airmen across Hancock Field.
He almost knew the question before I would ask it of him. He was always thinking ahead, ahead, ahead.
You could look at something and see it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, and not only see how things were kind of going to shape up to get there, but he'd have a pretty good idea of how he would, you know, maneuver to get himself there and his organizations there.
He had the ability to think strategically, and not only to think strategically at the unit level, but also at the state level, and then I would say at the national level.
You know, he could have this hard exterior, but you know, he would poke fun at himself, and he would, you know, allow you to poke fun at him also.
That exterior that he many times you know, showed, what was hiding beneath that was a real you know, good sense of humor, sort of a you know, sort of mischievous a little bit, sort of a Dennis the Menace type of an attitude.
It was very tough to get close to him if he didn't, you know you for a while and trust you. But you would, once you got beyond that, you would see that, you know, he would ride a Vespa motor scooter, you know, with a robin egg blue helmet on.
He could fly an F-16, or he'd feel comfortable enough to be riding around on a little scooter through the hills of Casanova.
And he had that very, very gentle side for animals. They were all rescue animals.
It's amazing. He had miniature donkeys, he had a three-legged dog, he just took in animals and loved them. So here's this, you know, aggressive, capable fighter pilot who also has this, like, love for animals, love for nature.
He was a student of history. He could tell you about battles in wars long ago fought, and he learned from those, you know, those battles.
General Knauff's 7 habits for leading in the post standard, the first one was actually to be lucky, and so I honestly feel that I'm the lucky one because I got to serve under his command as here's part of the 174.
The reason that I'm still in uniform, I owe in a large measure to his mentorship.
I was, again, very fortunate to command overseas, and that was a direct result of Major General Knauff's, you know, confidence in my ability.
He was my direct boss as the Chief of Safety. I reported directly to the wing commander. Then I became his vice commander, And then when I took over the wing, he was the chief of staff. He pretty much had influence in every one of those jobs that I got.
Developed future mission sets, and he developed the people to actually take on those mission sets and continue to be, focused on the mission, take care of the people, and be, an integral part of the defense of this great country.
He knew our time in the F-16 was coming to an end before anybody else did. He went to all the right meetings, talked to all the right people. He saw the handwriting on the wall.
He did so much for the unit, for the 174th, and for all the units in the state to really move them at a time of war into the 21st century and new mission sets.
When you look at the 5 wings plus the Eastern Air Defense Sector, his fingerprints are all over it.
Even when he retired, he was very involved with New Air, the corporation, that continued to press for integrating into our local aerospace and fighting for our mission.
If there's one word I would describe Major General Knauff, it would be courageous. Courageous leadership.
Yeah, I'd say integrity. It was unfailing.
Dedicated, selfless, caring for people.
True professional in everything that he did.
He was genuine through and through.
As the 174th being the very first Air National Guard, MQ-9, formal training unit, and leading the way, really leading the way and figuring this out for the Air Force as we figure out how to train our pilots and our sensor operators in the MQ-9. I think it's such a great honor to him because he was out front making that courageous decision.
He'd be aghast that a building was being named after him. He was not somebody who took to the lights, the bright lights, and he was very much get the job done and we'll move on from there. So in sort of a humorous way, I really like the fact that he's going to have this building named after him, and it's right at the front gate. It looks right across the street at the headquarters.
The training building, so appropriate because he was very, very, very on his game when it came to training. He knew how important that was. And training is just not book learning, it's also character building. It's also management and communications, communication skills with people one-on-one, and he had that. He had that down.
That building, it's an institution of higher learning, and it's just not for guardsmen. It's just not for people who are assigned to the 174th, and I think that's an extension of who he is as well, and who he was in terms of a broader perspective. There are going to be students that are going to walk through those doors, for generations of airmen to come, and I would also say that there will be members of foreign air forces here. Certainly from the active duty Air Force, the reserve component, both the Air Force Reserve and of course the Air National Guard. But I would also say that there will be members of our interagency, members of the government, as well as our joint service components that members will come through here. So it's a great testament and a great legacy that he leaves his stamp on that building.
To someone who was so dedicated to the mission, to the people of New York, the New York Air National Guard, that we don't typically name buildings after somebody because it's not about you. But I think in this case, Major General Knauff, this one's about you, and deservedly so.
Every day, day in and day out, is going to be important to America. And I can't thank him enough for that. There's going to be a lot of work here. There's going to be a lot of long hours, and there's going to be an awful lot of people who are going to put their heart and soul into this place. But at the end of the day, all I can say is thanks, both as a former commander and as an American. Thank you for what you do.